It was a late, drizzly evening when the small, scruffy puppy first appeared outside the county animal shelter. The sky was a dull grey, and rain slicked the cracked pavement, making the place look even colder than usual. Inside, the shelter was loud and bustling with the usual chorus of barking dogs and meowing cats, but the staff were tired from a long day of intake and care. They didn't expect anything unusual, just another routine night. Then the shelter door creaked open, and a figure slipped inside carrying a small bundle wrapped in a dirty blanket. The person moved hurriedly, glancing over their shoulder, as if afraid of being seen. With little more than a hurried apology, they gently set the bundle down and disappeared into the darkening night before anyone could ask questions. When the staff unwrapped the bundle, they revealed a tiny puppy, no more than a few months old. Its coat was matted and tangled, with patches of dirt staining its fur. Its ears drooped slightly and its big brown eyes blinked slowly, scanning the room with a strange calmness that unsettled even the most experienced shelter workers. The puppy wore a collar, but not just any collar. It was a thick leather band, worn and scratched, but clearly expensive and carefully crafted. There was no name tag, no phone number, no microchip, just the collar. It looked out of place on such a rough, little creature. Someone on staff muttered, "Where did this one come from?" But no one had answers. The shelter manager, Lisa, was quick to step in. She was used to seeing abandoned pets. Some had heartbreaking stories, some were simply lost. But this puppy felt different. It wasn't scared or frantic like most strays. Instead, it seemed oddly composed, as if it had been through something no one could understand. Lisa knelt down, holding out her hand. The puppy sniffed, then gently licked her fingers, but made no attempt to move closer or play. Its gaze remained fixed on her, sharp and watchful. "Hey, little guy," Lisa whispered softly, "we're going to take care of you." The shelter was packed, overflowing with dogs and cats from a recent rescue operation. Space was tight and resources stretched thin. The new puppy was placed in a small kennel near the back, where staff could keep a closer eye on it. But no one expected much. It was just another stray, after all. Shelter life was tough, and many animals didn't make it out alive. The next morning, Dr. Patel, the shelter's vet, came in for her early checkups. She was a kind woman with years of experience, used to seeing dogs with all sorts of injuries and illnesses. She took one look at the strange puppy and felt a chill run down her spine. The pup lay quietly in its kennel, watching her approach. Dr. Patel pulled on her gloves and began a thorough examination. The dog was surprisingly healthy, no obvious injuries or infections, just a little malnourished. But what bothered her was the puppy's silence. It didn't bark or whimper when touched, didn't struggle or react like other scared animals. "What's his story?" Dr. Patel asked Lisa later, peering at the collar. "No tags, no chip. That collar looks expensive, maybe custom made." Lisa shrugged. "Dropped off last night, no one claims him. Shelter's full and we've got a wait list for euthanasia if no one steps forward soon." Dr. Patel frowned. "He's not like any dog I've seen. There's something different. I can't explain it." Days passed, and the puppy's strange behavior continued to puzzle the staff. It never barked or sought attention, but it watched everything with unblinking eyes. Other dogs would bark or growl nearby, but the puppy remained calm, almost too calm. Visitors came and went, but no one asked about the strange, silent dog in the corner. Some even joked about it being weird or too quiet to be normal. Lisa hated those comments. She believed every life mattered, even one as mysterious as this little pup. But time was running out. The shelter was bursting at the seams, and without an owner or adopter, the puppy was scheduled for euthanasia in less than a week. The thought weighed heavily on Dr. Patel. She knew it was only days before the puppy would be put down, just a forgotten face on a long list of animals society overlooked. One rainy evening, as the shelter grew quiet and the last workers prepared to leave, Dr. Patel sat beside the puppy's kennel. The puppy didn't move, didn't bark, just looked up at her with those deep, knowing eyes. She whispered, "There's more to you, isn't there? I just wish I knew what." And in that moment, neither the vet nor the puppy could guess that a hidden secret was about to change everything. a secret buried in the very collar around its neck. The next morning, the shelter buzzed with the usual controlled chaos: dogs barking, cats meowing, volunteers bustling about. But the small scruffy puppy remained silent. It sat quietly in its kennel, eyes following every movement with a strange intensity that unsettled even the shelter's most seasoned workers. Dr. Patel arrived early, drawn back to the puppy by a feeling she couldn't shake. The silence of this little dog was unnatural. Normally, frightened or confused animals would bark, whimper, or pace, but this one, nothing. It was as if the puppy was listening, watching, calculating, but refusing to reveal any emotion. "Come on, buddy," Dr. Patel whispered, kneeling beside the kennel. She offered her hand again. The puppy sniffed, then gently licked her fingers, but still didn't approach. It sat motionless except for its eyes, which seemed to be studying her in return. She ran through her usual tests: heart rate, temperature, reflexes, all normal. No illness, no injury, no sign of abuse. The puppy was healthy, surprisingly so for a stray left out in the rain, but its unusual demeanor remained a puzzle. Lisa, the shelter manager, stopped by, carrying a clipboard and wearing her tired but warm smile. "Nothing new?" she asked. Dr. Patel shook her head. "It's like he's different, almost like he understands everything but won't respond. I can't explain it." Lisa sighed. "We've had a lot of strays, some scared, some aggressive, some just confused, but this one, he's something else. No one's come asking about him either." It was true, over the past few days dozens of people had visited the shelter looking for pets, but no one had asked about the strange, silent puppy with the worn collar. Its stillness made it easy to overlook. As the day wore on, the puppy's silence became more noticeable. Other dogs barked and whimpered in the kennels nearby, but this one remained calm, almost eerily so. Shelter workers joked nervously, "Maybe he's deaf," or "Maybe he's just too tired." But Dr. Patel didn't believe it. She spent extra time observing the puppy, watching how it reacted to sounds and movement. When a sudden loud noise startled everyone else, the puppy's ears twitched, but it didn't flinch. When Lisa walked past with a food bowl, the puppy's eyes briefly lit up, but it didn't move. There was something almost deliberate about its stillness. During her rounds, Dr. Patel checked the collar again. It was odd, too expensive to belong to a stray, yet it showed signs of wear and neglect. She tried to find a brand or any inscription, but nothing was visible. The collar was old-fashioned leather, thick and sturdy, unlike the plastic or fabric collars most dogs wore. Curiosity gnawed at her. Why would a dog like this be abandoned? And why would someone leave it with no identification except a collar that looked like it belonged to a prized pet? That evening, as the shelter quieted and most workers left for the day, Dr. Patel stayed behind. She sat near the puppy's kennel, notebook in hand, jotting down observations. The puppy lay curled up, eyes half closed but alert. "I don't know your story," she whispered, "but I'm not giving up on you." A few hours later, the shelter's security cameras captured something strange. The puppy, previously motionless, suddenly lifted its head and turned sharply toward the entrance. It stood up slowly, ears perked as if listening for something no one else could hear. The footage showed the puppy pacing its kennel, sniffing the air, eyes darting to the corner where the collar gleamed faintly in the low light. Lisa watched. The footage the next morning, brows furrowed. "This isn't normal shelter behavior," she said. "He's almost waiting for something." Dr. Patel agreed. "He's silent, but he's aware. Too aware. It's like he's on alert, but not scared." Meanwhile, the shelter faced growing pressure. With dozens of animals in cages, many sick or injured, space was running out. The board had set a deadline. Animals without identification or adoption prospects would be scheduled for euthanasia in just a few days. The puppy was on that list. As the clock ticked closer to the fatal deadline, Dr. Patel couldn't shake the feeling that time was running out for this strange little dog. Every day that passed, the puppy's silence felt heavier, as if hiding a secret that no one was meant to hear. One rainy afternoon, as Dr. Patel fed the puppy and sat quietly beside, The kennel the dog finally did something unexpected. It tilted its head, looked directly into her eyes and let out a soft, almost whispered bark, a sound so faint and rare it startled her. That small bark was a crack in the silence, a sudden glimpse of something waiting beneath the calm exterior. It was a plea or maybe a warning. Dr. Patel's heart tightened. There was more to this puppy than met the eye, and whatever secret the collar hid, it wasn't long before it would come to light. The shelter was suffocating under the weight of overcrowding. Kennels that were once meant for a handful of animals now housed double, sometimes triple that number. The staff worked around the clock, trying to care for every dog and cat, but the reality was brutal. There simply wasn't enough space, food, or resources. Each week, animals without identification or homes were carefully evaluated and, if no alternative was found, placed on a list for euthanasia. The strange puppy, silent and inscrutable, sat on that list. Dr. Patel stared at the schedule pinned to the staff bulletin board. The puppy's name was simply unknown, marked next to a date that loomed dangerously close. The thought of ending a life, any life, was always hard, but this one felt heavier than usual. She couldn't explain why. There was something about those deep brown eyes, so still yet so full of quiet intelligence, that refused to let her sleep at night. Lisa noticed the change in Dr. Patel, too. "You're worrying about that little guy again," she said gently one morning, catching her colleague gazing into the kennel as if searching for answers. "I know. It's not like any other dog here." Dr. Patel sighed. "He's not just any dog, but the shelter can't keep him forever, and no one's coming to claim him. We have to face facts." Over the next few days, the shelter became quieter around the puppy. Volunteers who used to stop by his kennel found excuses to avoid him. His silence was unsettling, his stillness almost eerie. The other dogs barked and howled for attention, but this one remained detached, observing rather than participating. Meanwhile, the vet continued her discreet investigation. She inspected the collar again, rubbing the leather with her fingers, hoping to find a clue. It was unusual, heavy, thick, and finely crafted, but no visible name or tag. One afternoon, while cleaning the puppy's kennel, Dr. Patel's fingers brushed against a small seam near the collar's buckle. Curious, she gently pried it open. Beneath the worn leather, hidden in a tiny compartment, was a folded piece of paper, yellowed and damp from wear. Her heart skipped, carefully unfolding. She read the message scrawled in hurried, faded ink. "If you find this dog, do not put him down. Call Agent Marshall immediately. Highly sensitive." Below the message was a phone number. The words sent a shock through her. Who was Agent Marshall? What did highly sensitive mean? And why had this puppy been abandoned with such a secret? Dr. Patel's mind raced. She knew she had to act fast. The shelter's euthanasia schedule was unforgiving and the clock was ticking. Minutes away from the puppy's fate, she pulled Lisa aside. "We need to call this number." Lisa hesitated. "What if it's some kind of prank, or worse, nothing?" Dr. Patel shook her head. "I don't think so. This message was hidden for a reason. We can't just ignore it." Taking a deep breath, Dr. Patel dialed the number from the paper. The line rang several times before a calm male voice answered. "Agent Marshall?" she asked cautiously. "This is he," the man replied. Dr. Patel explained the situation briefly, emphasizing the puppy's imminent euthanasia. The man's voice grew serious. "We're on our way. Don't do anything until we arrive." The call ended, and for the first time since the puppy's arrival, Dr. Patel felt a flicker of hope. Word spread quickly through the shelter staff. The strange puppy was no longer just a stray. He was something much more important. That night, Dr. Patel sat by the kennel, watching the puppy's quiet breathing. The shelter was dark except for the soft glow of the hallway light filtering in. The puppy's collar gleamed faintly, hiding the secret that had nearly cost him his life. Hours later, headlights flashed outside. 2 black SUVs pulled up silently. Doors opened, and 2 men in dark suits entered with purposeful strides. They flashed badges that identified them as federal agents. They didn't ask many questions. Gently, respectfully, they took the puppy in their arms. "Thank you," one agent said to Dr. Patel. "You saved something invaluable." As the SUVs disappeared into the night, a heavy silence filled the shelter. Dr. Patel sat back down, hands trembling. She wasn't sure what she had just witnessed, but she knew one thing for certain. The puppy was no ordinary dog, and the secret. Hidden in that collar was only the beginning. The shelter felt eerily empty after the agents took the puppy away. Dr. Patel sat in her small office, staring at the empty kennel where the little dog had spent days quietly observing the world. Her mind was racing with questions she had no answers to. Who were those men? What was so important about that scruffy puppy? And most of all, what secret was hidden inside that collar? The note she found under the collar's leather had changed. Everything. Do not put this dog down. Call Agent Marshall immediately. Those words echoed in her mind, heavy with implication. It wasn't just a warning, it was a lifeline, a clue to something much bigger. The phone rang, startling her. It was the anonymous number that had contacted her hours after the agents left. "You did the right thing," a calm voice said. "The puppy you saved is part of a classified program. We can't say much, but you should know it's a living experiment. Biotech and behavioral intelligence far beyond ordinary dogs." Dr. Patel's heart pounded. A living experiment. The puppy she had nearly watched die was not just an animal. It was something created, engineered for a purpose she couldn't yet comprehend. The voice continued, "The collar is more than decoration. It's a data device, encrypted to protect. Sensitive information. It's the only link between the puppy and its handlers. Without it, the dog is at risk, and so are we all." Her mind flashed back to the puppy's unnerving calmness, its silent watchfulness. It wasn't just quiet. It was trained, conditioned. This wasn't a stray or an abandoned pet. It was a mission waiting to unfold. Determined to understand more, Dr. Patel reviewed the footage from the shelter's security cameras again. She watched the puppy's behavior closely. The stillness, the sharp gaze, the way it reacted to subtle noises no one else noticed. There was intelligence there, a knowing beyond instinct. Later that day, she received an unexpected visit from Lisa, the shelter manager. "The agents left this," Lisa said, handing her a small black case. Inside was a high-tech collar, the very same but now stripped of its leather cover, revealing sleek circuitry beneath. "Is this what was hidden inside the leather?" Dr. Patel asked, awestruck. Lisa nodded. "Apparently, it's designed to record and transmit data, track vital signs, and even regulate behavior. We have no idea how it ended up with that puppy, or why someone left it at our shelter." That night, Dr. Patel lay awake, thoughts swirling. What if the puppy's silence was a side effect of the collar's influence? What if it was more than just a passive observer? What if it was a guardian or a weapon? The next morning, news leaked that federal agents were conducting investigations in the area, quietly questioning people about lost or stolen animals. Whispers among staff hinted that the puppy was connected to a top-secret project involving animal intelligence and security. Dr. Patel found herself caught in a web of secrecy. She was sworn to silence, but she couldn't stop wondering about the dog's fate. Was it safe? Was it being used for something dangerous? And what would happen if it ever returned? Days later, a coded message arrived in the shelter's mailbox. It was short but chilling. "Thank you for saving him. He's more important than you realize. The world will know soon." Dr. Patel felt a mix of pride and fear. The puppy's story was far from over. It had been minutes from death, abandoned and silent. But now it was a key to a mystery bigger than anyone had imagined. In the quiet moments, she whispered to the empty kennel, "Whatever you are, little one, thank you for holding on." Days slipped by in a haze of quiet urgency. Dr. Patel found herself caught between her routine shelter duties and the invisible thread pulling her toward the unknown story behind the puppy. Every night, she returned to the shelter's empty kennel, imagining the little dog's fate in the hands of those mysterious agents. Then, one evening, as she was closing up, her phone buzzed with an unknown number. With a mixture of hesitation and hope, she answered. "Dr. Patel," a calm, authoritative voice said. "This is Agent Marshall. I want to thank you personally for saving our asset." Her heart skipped a beat. "Asset? I just saved a puppy." "Not just any puppy," he replied, voice lowering. "That dog is part of a covert government program, Project Sentinel. The collar you found is a prototype device designed to monitor and enhance animal intelligence. Our goal was to develop a new breed of highly trained animal agents capable of complex problem-solving and security tasks." Dr. Patel blinked. "I had no idea. Why was he abandoned at the shelter?" "An operational failure, Agent Marshall." Admitted. "During transport, the puppy escaped. We lost contact, and with sensitive technology on the collar, it was too dangerous to let the public find him. So we issued orders to retrieve him quietly. But when your shelter called, you saved his life. That changed everything." The line went quiet for a moment before the agent added, "We want to offer you an opportunity to learn more about the program and perhaps be part of it." Curiosity and caution warred inside Dr. Patel. She was a vet, not a spy or scientist, but the weight of responsibility settled over her shoulders. She owed it to the puppy and to herself to understand the truth. The next day she arrived at a discreet government facility, a stark contrast to the bustling shelter. Agents led her through secured corridors to a small laboratory where the puppy, now clean, healthy and calm, waited. The moment their eyes met, something unspoken passed between them. Recognition, trust, a shared history. Scientists explained the collar's function in more detail. It contained a microprocessor, capable of learning and adapting, communicating with handlers via encrypted signals. The puppy's silence, its uncanny calmness, were side effects of a neural enhancement system designed to reduce stress and optimize focus. "This isn't just a dog," the lead scientist said. "He's a sentient partner." Dr. Patel watched. The puppy responded to subtle commands transmitted through the collar. The animal moved with grace, intelligence shining in its eyes. It was clear this was no ordinary pet. Days turned into weeks as Dr. Patel worked with the team, learning about the program's goals and ethics. But even amidst the excitement, shadows lingered. There were questions about control, freedom, and the morality of such technology. One evening she sat beside the puppy in a quiet room, stroking its fur gently. "I promise," she whispered, "I'll do everything to protect you." Suddenly, alarms blared through the facility. Screens flashed red. An intruder had breached the perimeter. Agents scrambled, but the puppy was already alert, moving with swift precision. Its collar beeped softly as it connected to the security system, transmitting real-time data. Dr. Patel felt a surge of pride, mixed with fear. The puppy was more than a test subject, he was a guardian. The intruder was caught before reaching the core labs, but the breach revealed a disturbing truth. Project Sentinel was under threat from unknown enemies who wanted to steal the technology. As the dust settled, Agent Marshall approached Dr. Patel. "We need to relocate the puppy. His safety and the future of the project depends on it." Dr. Patel nodded, her resolve hardening. She knew this was only the beginning. The puppy, once abandoned and forgotten, was now at the heart of a dangerous game, and she was determined to protect him no matter the cost. The decision to relocate the puppy was swift but necessary. The breach at the facility had made it painfully clear that enemies were closing in, people willing to do anything to get their hands on the secret technology hidden in the collar. Dr. Patel, Agent Marshall, and the team worked quickly to prepare for a covert transfer. Late that night, under a shroud of darkness, the puppy, now named Sentinel by the team, was gently placed into a secure transport crate. Dr. Patel knelt beside it one last time, her fingers tracing the familiar worn leather collar that now contained more than just a secret message. It was the key to Sentinel's survival. "You're safe now, little one," she whispered, though her voice trembled with uncertainty. "I'll do whatever it takes to protect you." The convoy left the facility in a discreet convoy, guarded by agents with faces set in grim determination. Dr. Patel rode alongside, feeling the weight of responsibility heavy in her chest. Drive was tense and silent, punctuated only by occasional updates from security about possible threats. Sentinel, despite the chaos, remained calm inside his crate. His eyes, however, shone with quiet alertness, as if he knew more than he let on. After several hours, they arrived at a remote safe house nestled deep in the woods, far from prying eyes and city lights. The house was designed to be a fortress, secure haven where Sentinel could recover and where the team could regroup. But safety was temporary. Within days of arriving, Dr. Patel noticed strange signs. Equipment malfunctioned. Unfamiliar sounds echoed in the night. Once, Sentinel growled, low in his throat, staring toward the dense forest with intense focus. The agents dismissed it as paranoia, but Dr. Patel wasn't so sure. One evening, as she sat with Sentinel in the living room, she noticed a faint blinking light on the collar, an alert she hadn't seen before. Suddenly, the collar emitted a low hum, and Sentinel's body tensed. "Something's coming," Dr. Patel murmured, her pulse quickening. The front door shattered as masked figures stormed the safe house. The team sprang into action, but the attackers were well prepared, armed and ruthless. Amid the chaos, Sentinel's collar activated fully, releasing a high-frequency pulse that disoriented the intruders. The puppy leapt into action, agile and fierce despite his small size, defending Dr. Patel and the agents. It was more than instinct, it was a coordinated defense, as if the collar was enhancing his natural abilities. In the scramble, Dr. Patel realized the attackers weren't just after the puppy. They wanted to capture the collar itself. The technology was the prize, and Sentinel was the guardian. When the assault finally ended, the team counted their injuries, but had managed to repel the intruders. However, the threat was clear. Their enemies knew exactly where to find them. And they wouldn't stop until the collar was theirs. The agents debated their next move. Some wanted to take Sentinel out of the country, while others suggested destroying the technology to keep it out of the wrong hands. Dr. Patel, however, felt differently. "I can't lose him," she said firmly. "He's more than a project. He's alive and he trusts us. We have to protect him, no matter what." The team reluctantly agreed, and plans were made for a new, safer location. But the clock was ticking. Every move was watched, every step, shadowed by unseen enemies. As they prepared to leave the safe house, Dr. Patel knelt beside Sentinel one last time. "You're not just a puppy," she said softly. "You're a symbol of hope, and I promise I won't let anything happen to you." Sentinel looked up at her with deep, knowing eyes, a silent bond forming between them that neither could break. The road ahead was uncertain, dangerous, and full of unknowns. But one thing was clear. The strange puppy who had been minutes from being put down was now the most important living secret in the world, and together they would fight to keep that secret safe. The next safe location was a remote research outpost hidden in the mountains, far from any towns or cities. The air was thin and crisp, and the silence was broken only by the rustle of pine trees and distant wildlife. It was the kind of place where no one would think to look, and exactly what they needed. Dr. Patel and the agents arrived just before dawn. They set up quickly, their nerves taut with anticipation. Sentinel, though still a puppy in appearance, moved with a quiet confidence. Now, he was no longer just an experiment or a stray. He was a living weapon and a partner. That evening, as the sun dipped behind the peaks, Agent Marshall gathered Dr. Patel and a small team of scientists in a secured lab. The air was thick with tension. "We owe you the truth," Marshall began. "Sentinel isn't just part of any program. He is the product of years of classified research combining biotechnology, artificial intelligence, and animal cognition. He was engineered to be the ultimate protector." Dr. Patel listened intently, her heart pounding. Sentinel's collar contains an advanced AI core. It allows him to learn from his environment, make complex decisions, and even communicate with us in ways we are only beginning to understand, Marshall explained. He's designed to protect sensitive information and assets, and to identify threats before they happen. The scientists revealed data on their screens, heart rates, brain scans, and neural patterns. Sentinel's brain activity showed cognitive abilities far beyond ordinary dogs, with problem-solving skills approaching human levels. "But why was he abandoned?" Dr. Patel asked. "Why did he end up at our shelter?" Marshall's face grew grave. "Because the technology is dangerous. If it falls into the wrong hands, it could be weaponized. That's why when the transport failed, we couldn't risk it. We issued orders to recover or, if necessary, euthanize. But thanks to you, that never happened." A silence fell over the room. The weight of the secret was almost unbearable. Suddenly, Sentinel whined softly and pawed at the lab door. Dr. Patel stood and followed him into a small adjoining room. There, Sentinel sat quietly, eyes locked on a holographic display that lit up with encrypted files. As she watched, the puppy's collar emitted a series of soft beeps. "Look at this," said one of the scientists, joining her. "The collar is communicating. It's sending data, intelligence we didn't expect." The files revealed startling information, locations of other experimental animals, encrypted messages from unknown sources, and references to a shadowy organization intent on seizing control of the AI technology. Dr. Patel realized the puppy was not just a guardian. It was a beacon, a link to something much larger. That night, as the team reviewed the data, an urgent alert flashed across their monitors. An unknown vessel was approaching the mountain base, moving fast, without identification. Agents scrambled to prepare defenses, but Dr. Patel stayed close to Sentinel. She whispered, "Whatever happens, we face it together." As the intruders closed in, Sentinel's collar glowed brighter, his body tense and ready. The little dog, who had once been seconds from death, was now humanity's first line of defense, against an unimaginable threat. And as the first shots rang out in the dark, Dr. Patel understood one truth. This was just the beginning. The mountain air was cold and sharp as the unknown vessel closed in on the research outpost. The team worked quickly, barricading doors and readying defenses, but Dr. Patel's focus was entirely on Sentinel. The little dog's collar pulsed with a steady blue glow, signaling heightened activity, and his eyes shone with fierce determination. "Stay close," she whispered, as the first wave of intruders breached the perimeter. Sentinel moved like lightning, swift, precise, and fearless. Despite his small size, he was a whirlwind of strength and intelligence. The collar's AI amplified his natural instincts, allowing him to anticipate attacks and outmaneuver their foes. He darted through the shadows, disrupting the intruders, with high-frequency sounds only they could hear, and relaying critical information to the agents via the collar's encrypted signals. Dr. Patel followed close behind, helping where she could, her heart pounding in her chest. The fight was brutal, but brief. The intruders, caught off guard by Sentinel's unexpected prowess and the team's preparedness, quickly retreated. As silence settled over the outpost, the agents rushed to secure the area and tend to the wounded. Amid the chaos, Dr. Patel knelt beside Sentinel, who now sat calmly, his breathing steady but alert. "You were incredible," she said, her voice trembling. "I don't know what I'd have done without you." Sentinel looked up at her with those deep brown eyes that held more than just canine loyalty. They reflected a bond forged through struggle and survival. In the following days, news of the attack was buried under layers of secrecy. The government reiterated the importance of Project Sentinel and vowed to protect the technology from those who sought to misuse it. Dr. Patel was offered a permanent role with the program. She would work closely with the team, helping to care for Sentinel and the other animals in the project. It was a dangerous path, but one she accepted without hesitation. As she settled into her new life, Dr. Patel often thought back to the day the puppy arrived at the shelter. Minutes away from being put down, discarded and forgotten, yet somehow destined for something far greater. Sentinel became a symbol, not just of advanced technology or secret missions, but of hope, resilience, and the unexpected miracles that could come from second chances. One evening, as she watched Sentinel playing in the courtyard, a small smile tugged at her lips. "You saved me as much as I saved you," she whispered. The collar around Sentinel's neck gleamed softly under the moonlight, a reminder of the incredible journey they had shared. Together they had faced danger, secrecy, and the unknown, and come out stronger. The strange puppy who had once been on the brink of death was now a guardian, a hero, and a companion. And whatever challenges lay ahead, Dr. Patel knew they would face them as one. The story of the strange puppy was no longer one of tragedy. It was a new beginning,